Hi everyone, welcome back to the show. My name is Ed Griggs and he's Ganagosis. He doesn't get to speak this session because he completely disregards my mental and emotional health, so...
Okay, now. So, hello, we are back with our Seleukidai Let's Play. And we are about to fight Atropatkan outside the region of Ganzak.
Oh joy.
They have sallied out. Which is handy.
They've sallied forth and tallied ho, I suppose.
Well, it's handy for me because it means I can play more defensively, which is kind of the ideal way when you're using a phalanx army.
Yeah, you get to have that cool formation.
Well, it just means that they're going to come towards my phalanx rather than having to move my phalanx up to them, which is more of a hassle.
Yeah,
so we have our Chalcaspides, or bronze shields. Our flanks being protected by our Galatian swordsmen, our Galatian spearmen, because these are our Galatian swordsmen. And then we have our Greek swordsmen, Uzonoi, which are not very good at this stage.
No, do they still need a few more? Do they still need a few more battles or training to get themselves into tip-top shape?
Well, to be in the best position, it would be needing the Tereos reforms, because they become Tereos swordsmen, which are much better.
When did the Tereos reforms happen?
For the Seleucids, it'd be about turn 50 at Imperium level 3, and we're already like Imperium level 3, so it'd be turn 50.
Okay.
So yeah, our cavalry is engaging with their cavalry, and also it looks like they're Sparabara.
Well, they're already going toe-to-toe with each other pretty fiercely, I might add.
Yeah.
Oh, and we have our phalanx formation up now.
Oh yeah, it's been up since the start of the battle. But yeah, our infantry are fighting their infantry.
Oh, javelins away.
Yep. The thing about Atropatkans, they have a unit called Sparabara, which are basically spearmen with their bows. So it means they can shoot arrows instead of throwing javelins.
Isn't... I mean, like, isn't that the same as, like, bows and arrows or something? Or just, like, people who throw bows and arrows around or something, like archers or something?
Yeah, they're basically archers, but they're spearmen primarily.
Okay.
It just means...
I mean, like, are they able to do both? Like, they're able to...
Yeah, so it basically means when they're not fighting in melee, they can take out their bows and shoot their arrows out.
And they can also throw spears around as well.
No, they don't throw javelins.
Oh, okay then.
They're just, instead of having javelins, they have bows.
Oh, okay. But they can have... But what I'm saying is, like, they can have both, technically. Is that right?
No, they just fight with their spears in melee.
Oh, okay.
And they shoot... They're spearmen that happen to be equipped with bows. What's so hard to understand about that?
Okay.
Think of this. Unlike most spearmen who fight with who throw javelins and then fight with their spears, these guys just shoot arrows. That's
okay,
it.
Then.
That's all it is.
Okay.
Well, it can make them quite a pain.
How so?
Because, yeah, lots of them combined with probably already lots of archers, they can just pelt your troops. But yeah. But our troops are holding on. And yeah, we got our Galatians fighting there.
They're holding themselves up pretty well.
Well,
Phalanx shield is
that's
still
the phalanx.
100% intact.
Well, there might have been some casualties in the phalanx, but not too substantial.
Not that I could see.
But yeah, here we've got the fighting. Looks like the enemy's retreating a little bit.
Our infantrymen are holding themselves up pretty well.
Well, we do have some quality troops like the Galatians.
Oh yeah, Galatians are real heavy duty around here.
And it looks like our Gema has charged into the back of the enemy there.
just in time. Sure. If there was any time to decrease the enemy's morality, it would be now.
Did you say morality?
No, I said morale.
Okay, it sounded like you said morality. I was like, what?
You need to have your ears checked, Kunagooses. I think you need to see an ear doctor.
You mean an audiologist? I've seen an audiologist. My hearing's fine.
Okay.
Anyways. So yeah, doing pretty well. But yeah, the Kuroas, that's what that Galatian sword unit's called. They were quite different in the earlier version of DEI.
Really? How different were they?
They were a 300 strong lightly armoured sword unit. And it looks like our Galatians have routed.
That was fast.
And our Tarantines are taking heavy losses.
Well, that sucks.
There's our Hittyroi. Yeah, having them charge the enemy javelin troops.
Oh, hit them right from the back.
Yep. And the Arizona are starting to break also.
The Galatians are holding strong or fast enough.
Yep. So the Kuras used to be 300 strong light swordsmen, and they got changed into a 200 strong, slightly heavier sword axe hybrid.
Why the decrease?
I suppose it was just to make them a bit more unique and different, because there's already a 300 strong Galatian sword you can get, the Katawiros Calgo. So, it's my guess.
Are we able to get those eventually?
Yes, we can.
How many turns do we have to wait, or does it come
It's just
with
whenever we get level 3 Ankara to level 3.
Oh, okay then.
And our archers are charging in.
Well, they took their bloody time.
But they're not exactly good at melee. But over on our right flank, looks like our Galatians are winning. So that's good.
Yes, very good. Very good indeed.
So yeah.
Our infantrymen are doing a fair bit of decimation there.
Yeah, we're traveling around trying to break off more troops.
Break the last of their willpower.
You can put it that way.
Sure, this is warfare. Everything always has to go to the extreme.
And here we have what I believe is probably the enemy's general with the Satrap Guard.
A Cetra guard?
Satrap Guard. That's what they're called.
What were they like?
Well, these guys are basically spearmen with armored spearmen with no shields and bows.
Bit on the risky side, I'd say.
Well, they're pretty tough units.
I mean, like, they don't really have much armor to protect themselves. So
Well, they have a bit of armor.
they have to be pretty good at physical combat, I'd say, to make up for it.
Oh yeah, the General's Bodyguard unit. They can be used as a General's Bodyguard for Atropatkan. So yeah. So they're fighting our infantry. And now our Galatians are charging into the back of the enemy there.
Oh, good. It's about time we broke their morale. Oh, hit him right from behind there.
They
Oh,
also,
that guy did not go without grace.
also our Galatian spearmen were used to not be spearmen.
No?
They were swordsmen.
When did they transition?
I think it was either probably between 1.3 or 1.3.1. Basically, I think the whole thing was that swordsmen are a bit too common when the spear was a more common weapon, and it was thought just to make things more interesting, turned into use shock spearmen. It's already enough swords for the Galatians. And making sword axe hybrids is also kind of a more interesting idea than just plain swordsmen. So we're moving our Galatian spearmen to go around the enemy spears and charge them to help our bronze shields.
Oh, that's gonna hurt there.
So nice seeing those good old Celtic helmets.
Taking their sweet ass time there.
Where some of those helmets look like they're possibly Greek helmets also.
Yeah?
Well, looks like it.
How can you tell?
Because I have a rough idea of what certain Greek helmets are like versus the Celtic helmets. Comes with knowledge.
So what kind of difference, like what kind of aspects do they have? Like, what
Well,
kind
I
of
guess I
differences
put
can
it
you
like,
spot?
it's hard to say. I saw the kind of a ridge on one that looked a bit like it was maybe an Attic helmet. Most of the Celts look like they're wearing Celtic helmets. Possibly, I think, Montefortino / maybe the Aginport style helmets. Maybe also the Coolus. So Coolus is just like Montefortino but simpler in design. Aginport was a little bit different. Of course, all those helmets were popular among the Romans. Those three types were quite popular amongst the Romans. In fact, the iconic Imperial Roman helmet came from the Gallic Aginport helmet.
Wow, okay then.
And of course, in this time period, the primary helmet of the Roman infantry is largely the Montefortino helmet, which is again a Gaulish helmet. So the Romans liked using Gaulish equipment, even body armor, chainmail. They liked using those. And even they liked using Gaulish saddles.
And I'm assuming this was like top gear equipment to have, basically.
It was pretty solid equipment to have. Chainmail offered quite good protection whilst also being reasonably kind of flexible. You know, it's because it's rings of iron, kind of put together, that can allow it to be pretty flexible compared to like a muscled cuirass, which is just one big thick thing of like say bronze. Also, if you tie like a belt around your waist, you could offset some of the weight.
Well, that probably came in handy.
So chainmail proved to be quite popular and useful amongst the Romans. They basically used it since, basically once they adopted it, they never really did away with it.
I mean, look, it's the most useful equipment you could have, so I wouldn't be ditching it anytime soon, honestly.
Like, they did use other types of armors. And I know that the most iconic armor of the Romans is the Lorica segmentata, which came like in the peak Imperial period. But
what's that?
It's if you ever see like if you've ever seen a popular depiction of a Roman soldier, you might see this kind of armor that's like a bunch of small plates.
Yeah.
Segmented plates. That's the Lorica segmentata. A kind of band of plates kind of attached together. And that was it was certainly, I think, a fairly popular armor, but I believe even the male armor, Hamata, was still very popular. And even, of course...
At least they had options. They had multiple options to work with.
Oh, yeah, you also had the Lorica Squamata, which was... I think that was scale armor. Was Squamata. But yeah, you had all sorts of different armors, because the Romans did not just have one single type of gear, they used a variety of different equipment. And in this early period, the Romans did not have really any standardized gear.
Sure, they wouldn't be a massive empire if they didn't have like a vast array of options to work with.
Oh yeah, but even this one, I guess, stuff like the Lorica Segmentata is with the Roman Empire, but at this time period you're talking with the Roman Republic, and the Segmentata wasn't invented yet, but they were still using a variety of different equipment.
Did they take that from it? Did they get that Stigmatata armor as an inspiration from another culture? Again?
That's a good question. I don't think it's known for sure. It might have probably just been a Roman innovation, but who knows? If it was taken from another culture, it wouldn't be too surprising on some ways, because I think the Romans were very prolific in that regard.
No, I was just curious because...
Oh, yeah, that's a good question to ask. I don't know.
Because, like,
I don't think it's known for sure.
As far as I'm aware, or as far as what you've told me, the Roman Empire got a lot of inspiration for all these different subsets of armors and weapons from different cultures or something. So that just got me thinking.
Yeah, that is good. You know, like, their saddles were Celtic, the body armor, the chainmail armor was Celtic, their swords were Celtiberian, their javelins might have been Celtic or Iberian, the use of the Pugio dagger might have been kind of Celtiberian or Iberian. They were also using Celtic helmets and Greek helmets.
It gets you kind of thinking, like, is there anything in the Roman Empire that they themselves created by themselves with original designs and wasn't inspired by cultures?
Well, this is a bit fuzzy. I suppose the best I could think of was probably the scutum.
The scuton? What's that?
Their shield. The Latin word for shield is scutum.
Oh, so shields.
And it's generally used to refer to the Roman shield. Well, see, it's also kind of complicated here, but the basic idea is oval-shaped shields, although the Roman shield wasn't strictly oval, was more oblong, a little more rectangular, and then at the peak empire it became more rectangular. That had its origins in Italian peninsula.
Okay, that's a start.
So it was kind of a common shield used in Italian warfare to some extent.
And was it ever any good?
Well, it was pretty good, yes, of course. That's why it was pretty popular across much of the world. And then what happens is the Gauls seem to have, through encounters with the Italians, they develop the use of oval shields, and they start using it.
Oh, so this is a scenario where the Gauls actually took inspiration from the Romans this time around.
Yes, and you're talking about pretty probably even not strictly the Romans, but even just Italians in general.
Well, the Roman army originated...
Yes, but the Romans were but one part of the broader Italian peninsula.
Yeah, okay then.
Because you had loads of different tribes and city-states and peoples of Italy. You had Oscans. Amongst the Oscan speakers would have included the Samnites, which were a major opponent of Rome's. You had Umbrians, the Mamertines, which I think were Oscans. You had the Etruscans up north. So, and then you had your Greek colonists. But anyways, so the Romans, more or less, like many of the local Italians, were using some form of rectangular, square, or oval-shaped shields. And then, through influence of Greeks, encounter the Greeks, the Romans mostly do away with the oval shield in favour of the Greek aspis. That is the large, round, circular shield that's covered in bronze.
Yeah.
Because the Romans start to generally go more into hoplite tactics to a certain extent. And
Always handy that, I mean, like, hoplites are some of the best soldiers or units out there, so
well,
it makes
you're looking at
perfect
this
sense.
from you're looking at this from a purely game perspective. Historically, yes, hoplites are solid, but it's all a series of ups and downs here. A phalanx can be pretty good, but it also can be a little bit rigid and inflexible.
I don't know. They seem to be holding up pretty well enough in our battles so far.
Yes, but you're talking about a game.
Yeah, I know.
History
but,
is a little different from an actual just game.
Well, I was kind of referring to the in-game mechanics, like the phalanx.
Yeah.
Hold up
A
pretty well in
phalanx
the
can
game,
be
but,
solid, especially in a front-on engagement. But it
not
has
so much in real life.
In real life, I'm talking about in real life. But it also had its problems, like not always being very flexible, and quite vulnerable to flanking, and kind of would need good level ground to really be effective. Or
you would need to be on somewhere like a hill, perhaps.
Well, probably less like a hill. I think even probably better in somewhere more even and leveled. But anyways, so the Romans embrace more hoplite style tactics. And then they have an encounter with the Gauls, the Senones, led by a chieftain known as Brennus, although it's thought that Brennus might be more like a title than a name. And this leads to the Battle of Alia. And this is like 4th, maybe 5th century BCE.
Mm-hmm.
In the early days of the Roman Republic. And the Romans lost the battle. I think I need to probably actually, I feel like I really should read. So our only real source of this period is Livy, who's writing from, I think, the 1st century CE. So centuries later.
It seems a bit on the flimsy side if it's like from a source that came from centuries apart.
Yes, it is, but it's the best we have.
Okay.
So, and I
at
need
least
to,
until someday when someone discovers a better source, if one even
maybe
is even.
Livy probably is relying on older sources that don't exist. I don't know the full extent of this historiography stuff. I need to look into that. But that's the basic idea here. And the Romans lost the battle, and the city is sacked by the Gauls. And this is where I think they get a guy called, I think it was a Gaius Furius Camillus, who at least is somewhat credited, I think, for having them adopt the maniple formation, abandon the phalanx for the most part, and move into the more flexible maniple. And to some extent, that's what meant to help them push back the Gauls. But the Romans then begin to fight in maniples and eventually phase out different aspects of the equipment and get different sorts of gear. But this is where I think the scutum and those oval oblong shields become more popular, and they gain more of a resurgence. So whilst the shield itself has its origins in the Italian peninsula, it kind of did fall out of fashion to some degree, and I think through encounters with the Gauls came back into fashion, if you will.
And that's when they started relying on inspirations from other cultures.
Well, the fact that they were using Greek-style tactics indicates that they were already taking influence from foreign cultures. But this is where they would start to kind of maybe embrace more barbarian influences to some extent. you know, this happens over time. I suppose I think it's probably the 3rd century when chainmail probably starts to develop. Maybe the 4th. But
we can't
maybe,
say for
maybe
sure.
the 4th, maybe like 4th, 3rd century-ish is when the chainmail starts to develop, and the Romans adopt that eventually through their contacts with Gauls, because there were Gauls to the north of Italy. You know, the north of Italy was Gallic, kind of Gallic territory of sorts, so that's what the Romans called it, Gallia Cisalpina, meaning something to the effect of Gaul on this side of the Alps. And they eventually adopt Celtic mail and helmets. It seems that they might have been using Celtic swords to some extent. At least some Romans were supposed to be using Celtic swords.
Sure, I can't imagine why they wouldn't if they got. I mean, like if they were pretty much doing everything else.
Well, the thing with these Celtic swords is they are kind of long. And otherwise the Romans were probably using Greek swords, like the Xiphos and Kopis. And then I think this is either maybe during or after or between the First and Second Punic Wars, the Romans embrace the Spanish sword, Gladius Hispanensis. And that becomes the iconic sword of the Romans.
It became their favored weapon of choice, I'm assuming.
More or less, it's the sword that they're associated with to this day. A short sword that was suitable for slashing and thrusting. And apparently could pretty effectively hack limbs off.
Well, you always want a sword that can efficiently hack limbs off, so I'll give it that.
Yeah. So,
but anyway, what's this battle now?
We're attacking the other settlement of Atropatkan. We had our phalanx with our spears kind of at the front as the enemy came towards that. And we maneuvered some of our sword and cavalry troops behind to charge down. And now we're just clearing them off.
Well, that was fast.
It was.
That was way too easy. I need an easy button.
But yeah, it was quite easy. These things can be pretty easy. It was a simple garrison that did a not great job defending. It charged my phalanx, so they were pinned by my phalanx. And all I do is maneuver my cavalry and melee infantry to go behind them and just slam them from behind, and then they'd break.
It's like they didn't even plan out their own raids. They just jumped straight in without thinking. Not a good way to jump into battle.
But yeah, so that was a pretty smooth affair.
Yes, and I don't think we've lost any phalanx on our end.
Any casualties are likely to be quite minor. But yeah, another Cappadocian Lancers.
Oh, those are Cappadocian Lancers?
Yes.
Oh. What were they like?
Well, they're fairly solid Lancer cavalry. I don't know anything about the historical side.
I guess what I mean is, like, were they any good?
Well, they probably do the job fine. Not much to really say, I don't think. He says, that's Fraspa.
Fraspa. That's a cool name.
Yes, that's in the province of Mada. So this is the might of Heracles. This is our faction leader's army. Antiochus the First. So that we decide to recruit a dignitary or governor to help spread our culture.
Yeah, that's all they're good for these days.
Well, they also help with the economy. And they're the way you can buy settlements.
And you can adopt a pet snake for your household, is that it?
Well, that's just simply, it's a little, what they call them. It's a thing that just helps provide a bonus. It helps protect, it adds to cunning, and it also, I think, reduces the chance of agents having, I think it increases the chances of wounding enemy agents in self-defense.
Oh, really? So they can, like, they can actually, assign different tasks, or they can serve as, like, defensive methods.
It's just simply a thing that buffs the chance of wounding an enemy agent in defense if they cause trouble to your agent. Yeah, that's all it does. I think it's about like 8%.
My honorable master would have me talk of gold. A lamp sound.
But yeah, the Marians want non-aggression pact.
I see that your course is
I
Well,
decline.
fucking non-aggressive pacts, we're going all out.
Well, the reason I don't want to pay 4k for it.
Well, that's a simpler reason. We just don't want to pay you up, you know. So that makes sense.
Yes. Yeah, using Summary's little Greek map Mosaic font. So that means that map, as we're seeing, is all in Greek. Greek names for the regions and spelled out in Greek letters. So, yeah, it's a nice bit of immersion. Because I can read Greek. I can read the alphabet. So yeah, now we're upgrading Antioch to level 3.
Oh, that's handy.
That'll give us the Syrian elephants. And Syrian archers.
Oh, that'll be very handy in future battles.
Certainly the elephants will. The archers are also pretty nifty.
Would you personally prefer the elephants?
Well, yeah, the elephants are more significant.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, they're bleeding elephants, you know, so...
Yeah, so yeah, we're also upgrading Ankara to level 3. That'll give us the Katawiros Calgo and the Cladioi Argos.
I'm assuming they're a good bunch to have?
Yes, Katawiros Calgo are pretty solid. 300 strong swordsmen from Galatia. And the other ones are like chosen swordsmen. They're more like an elite 200 strong sword unit. Those two units had their visuals changed up recently, which is nice to see.
Was it part of an update recently?
Well, I say this is probably part of like it was either 1.3 or probably 1.3.1 had a lot of AOR units being updated and overhauled. That was something they did around that time period. This is 1.3.2, if memory serves. Yeah. So they updated a lot of the stuff. Especially because 1.3 overhauled a lot of the barbarian factions. So it'd be nice to kind of update the area of recruitment and mercenary units to be more in line with the current standard. So yeah. So our champion is leveled up.
That's handy.
Yes. So yeah, trying to figure out what we do.
Oh, and I see we're potentially up against... Oh, I don't know who we just fought there.
That's Atropatkan.
Oh, it looks as though we backed out.
Well, what we did was we encircled the settlement of Armavir. And I think the hope is to have the army outside either have them attack or if the garrison sally.
Ah, draw them out into the open.
Yeah.
I like that.
Because I suppose having them be more together would make it easier to fight than having them come off and come in different areas.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So we upgrade our slave trader in Palmyra to get more money from slaves and to reduce servile unrest. Because that's kind of been one of my major problems with public order, even late into the campaign. Slaves. So yeah. And we have what we wanted.
We got them right where we want them.
Yeah.
We're defending against
Atropatkan.
Atropatkan.
Yes.
What was Atropatkan like?
Historically,
Yeah.
I don't know a lot. I think they're one of these kind of like continuation groups of the Achaemenid Persians or along those lines. Not exactly, I think, of the Achaemenid dynasty, I don't think, but some Persian-like group. And that's all I know, really. Yeah, that's the gist of it, really. They're Persians in some level. Iranians. In contrast to, say, Parthia, who are not really Persian. They're more like kind of descendants of a nomadic group called the Parni. And it's talking about Parthia, which are different now, so we'll probably get to them when the time comes for it. But yeah, we are engaging with the enemy.
Oh, they're already... It kind of looks like they're being grounded already. Oh, here we go. Spears away.
Yeah, throwing our javelins at them.
I can never get it right between spears and javelins.
Well, a javelin's just a type of throwing spear. And they're firing their arrows.
Defending themselves pretty well there.
Yeah.
Our phalanx formation is holding firm and strong there.
Yep. It'd be nice to get the silver shields also. I think actually Antioch level 3 will give us silver shields.
Yeah, I'm assuming they're top quality shields.
Well, the silver shields are top quality pikemen. They're the kind of elite of the Seleukid pikes. They're the elite of Seleukid pike regiments. Yeah, it looks like the Galatians are holding off that large batch of troops.
They come in right from the rear end there, again.
Yep. Our Galatians are charging to the back of this enemy unit there. I think that's Sparabara. Yeah.
Jesus, it looked like that one guy on the ground was flayed alive. I guess that's what funny animations can do for you.
Yeah, so we're steadily winning the battle.
Slow and steady wins the race.
Yes, we're still using Lonkapora at this stage.
Are we planning to not really need them in the future?
Yeah, I don't use them in any of my current armies.
Or are they just not that interesting to work with?
Kind of. Like, if I want fast, lightish cavalry, I have my Tarentines and Gallo-Thracian Thraeus cavalry. And if I want
they're
kind
more
of sturdier mainline cav, I'd be having my Hippes. And then if I want charge
the other
shock
one's
power,
more or less just an afterthought, basically. Just something that's there, like,
I think it's just because they're convenient to have at the moment. That's why I'm using them.
But you wish you could do better, basically.
Kinda, yeah. Like, they're fine. See, so it's the Gallo-Thracians I won't have till Tyrell's reforms. But they're pretty cool. I like them.
Oh, they're coming up from the rear there, and they're not even paying attention.
My Hetairoi is chasing them down.
Oh, here comes our infantry.
It's our cavalry.
Oh, it's the cavalry. Sorry.
It's a big blob.
Sure, it was bound to happen.
Yeah, as we're also taking out the enemy general. Our cavalry's chasing him down with spears to back them up.
No, he doesn't stand a chance.
And our game has charged in. Yeah, I look forward to the thorax reforms.
Yeah, they should have some interesting updates.
Oh yeah, the game will get a nice upgrade. Because they basically become cataphracts.
How many turns do we have to wait before they arrive?
That'll occur at turn 120 at Imperium level 5.
Okay, so we're going to be waiting a while, I suppose.
Yeah. Be a little while. At the moment where we're at, as of the recording of this, I've reached about 90 turns into the campaign.
Okay, so just like 30 or so more turns left, and then we'll reach them.
But yeah, the game become basically a unit of cataphracts with the Nisaean horse, giving them that extra oomph. And we also get a separate unit of cataphracts, Hellenic cataphracts. So that's neat.
Yeah.
As well as some other solid infantry, like the Silver Shield Swordsmen and the what are they called? Torakita Agematos Basilico, or Seleukid Royal Guard, as they're called in English. Also, the Hippes get an upgrade. They become the Politikoi. But yeah. So we've won this battle and we're just chasing down the leftovers.
You stole my phrase.
And I think with that we will be bringing this part to an end.
Well, that's a shame.
Yes, well, this is basically a 45-minute episode, so you know.
Yes, we don't want to keep everyone's time.
No.
standing gloriously over the bodies of their victims.
Yep. And yes. Thanks for watching.
As always, be sure to leave a comment, like and subscribe, and we will see you all very, very soon.
Indeed.